Good afternoon. It's great to be with you. The reason why I'm doing this email, it's a training informational email. I wanted to talk about what we talked about today in our leadership team meeting, some pretty essential kind of things. Really, as we're moving into this second year, I've been meeting with Eric Bergen, who's my coach. I'm doing some organizational stuff with him. And then the other thing that we're doing is we're dialoguing, not just culture, but how are we going to do what we do in this culture to become effective and to become accountable to the team. And so I'm going to get, I think this is going to be really helpful to you. All of the information is in the description section, in the notes section here with the YouTube video. Read it, look at it, and please post if you have any comments, thoughts, questions. It would be really, really helpful. So let's dive right on in. So I've been talking a lot about relaunch churches. It takes 3 to 5 years to establish a culture in a relaunch situation. When you're church planting and you're starting off fresh, you don't have any culture that you have to deconstruct. You just move and you create a culture. In a relaunch situation, it's a little different. You're having to deconstruct and reconstruct a new culture. So I want to talk about some thoughts about leadership in a relaunch context. And some of what I'm going to be talking to you about are things that I was exposed to when I was relaunching a campus in Lincoln for Bayside. And I was sitting down with my coach from the Evangelical Covenant Church, Dr. Dennis Olson, and he was walking me through the whole process of establishing different priorities. David Olson, I should say. And but it's so here's what I want to do. Let me just go through this and we'll talk about this a little bit. So here's a quote that comes from Carol Kismarek and Charles Mikolakiaka. Leadership defies definition. No combination of talents can guarantee it. No process of training can create it where the spark does not exist. The qualities of leadership are universal. They are found in the poor and in the rich, the humble and the proud, the common man and the brilliant thinker. They are qualities that suggest paradox rather than pattern. But wherever they are found, leadership makes things happen. That's what leaders do. So we want a real simple framework. Now, there's a lot of assessments on strengths and strength finders and gifts, and they're all good. And we have Dr. Charlie Self that I'll talk a little bit more later, who's coming this weekend to do some of this. But let me talk a little bit about a simple framework of identifying where people land. It's called the pillar method. And I was exposed to this, and there's 3 things to the pillar that we're going to talk through that are very simple, and every person has all 3, but you have a dominant pillar as you lead. It's your strength. It's what your go-to is. I gave it to the team today, and there was aha moments that was in the room. So there are 2 foundational declarations from Jesus that are very foundational before we go any further. First is Mark 12:29 through 31. Jesus answered, the most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. That's the first one. The second is the Great Commission in Matthew 28:19 through 20. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. So, where do a person's abilities in spirituality, chemistry, and strategy come from? And the answer is in the way that God forms each person in our hearts, our souls, and our minds. So let me give you some foundations of Christian leadership. They're not just taught, they're caught. You catch some of this. Some of this is what Jesus does internally. Some of this is who we get exposed to, who disciples us, who mentors us, and who shapes us with these things. And we catch certain characteristics. So let me give you the 4 keys that are really important to work, that are the essentials that make up the pillars when it comes to leadership. Spirituality. Spirituality speaks of character. How do we love God with all of our heart, which in the Greek New Testament is the word cardia, to describe that parts of the human being which is meant to connect with God himself, and God creates this in us. It's with our hearts that we express our appreciation, longing, and dependence and affection with God. Spirituality finds its fulfillment in understanding the essence and experiencing the depth of the one true God. Spirituality is the basis of our connection with God and our communion with God, because God desires us to have intimacy with him. Now, our spirituality, this is a quote I came up with years ago, 2014. Our spirituality is a grace gift from the Lord that we must steward and not own, because the moment we own it, we will abuse it. This is the reason why Paul constantly said, I am a steward of the grace of Jesus Christ. He's talking about everything that Jesus has shaped in me and has developed in me. I manage it, I don't own it. Spirituality is highly linked to artistic instincts and ability, combined with a desire to create, whether in music, art, writing, or craftsmanship. People who are strongest in spirituality often have an appreciation for the symbolic or ritual. They have a deep need to express in some physical way what they intuitively understand in their heart. They are drawn to outward symbols that portray what they experience deep within their inner being, but find difficult to express in words alone. I find that a lot of creatives who are worship leaders and they have that artistic edge are people who have, this is their strongest pillar, is their spirituality. Now remember, every person has every one of these, but there's that one pillar that's your go-to strength that you go to. Now chemistry. The second part of the Great Commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, instructs us to love people with our entire soul. And the Greek word for soul is psyche. It's the inner part of our being that allows us to connect emotionally with other people. It is with our soul that we create the love connection with those around us. Chemistry is the word we will use to describe relational engagement. Chemistry finds its greatest joy in human interaction. Those strongest in chemistry are people-centered and feel that they would die if they were left alone by themselves. They love all forms of human interaction and bring zest to life that is infectious. And chemistry people are unusually good at displaying the fruits of the Spirit. I'll tell you a person in our team today that said, I'm a chemistry person, is my mom. My mom is an incredible chemistry person. She can walk into a room and people who are strangers all of a sudden are giving their contact information saying, let's get together and have coffee. That she's incredibly gifted with that. Now, in our meeting, Renelle really identified with spirituality, but look who she is. She's our worship leader. She's very creative. She's got an artistic way of how she communicates with those things. So you see where I'm going with this? On our team, we have a person who's highly, their spirituality component and how they think that way is really key. And by the way, this is really congruent, and I'm going to do another video of how congruent it is with Larry and Leslie Hansen's chart of think, know, feel. You know, if you're a knower or a feeler, because it ties right into that. It ties right into that. And then my mom's a chemistry person. Now here's strategy. Strategy is competency. The Great Commission teaches us to love the world with all of our mind. And the most common Greek word that is translated mind in the New Testament is the word nous. Our mind is the part of the brain that allows us to think in an orderly manner so that we can accomplish real physical progress in the world. Strategy is the word we will use to describe how we love the world. By the way, how people process things become dissonant and struggle at times on teams Because let's face it, some people are more ADD. They're popcorn in their thinking. And so the way they think is a little bit more that way. Some people are really strict linear thinkers. Some people are progressive thinkers. They don't advance in their thinking until they kind of think through the last step. Not either one of those are wrong. But we have to recognize those styles exist on a team and that people have those styles as they process things. Chemistry finds its greatest joy in strategy. The strategy gift creates the desire to turn dreams and ideas into reality. Strategy people want to make a physical difference in the world. They spend much of their time thinking about the future and try to create a sequential process that will make the future better. Strategy people, I want you to catch this. Strategy people get frustrated when others just talk about what they want to do but never get it done. Strategy should produce action, and this works itself out in plans, procedures, physical structures, streamlined organizations, and actual progress. So that's the strategy component. Now, there's a fourth component, and the fourth component is leadership wisdom. And here's what the scripture says: we are to love Jesus and others with all of our strength. This is passion. This is passion. Wisdom not only holds the other characteristics together, but it brings balance. It has a discernment to know where the team is at on their journey. This is where people with strategy sometimes fall short. They just want to move, go, 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 go. And where wisdom says, where are we on the continuum? Because we can only go as fast as where we realistically are at. And that's the reason why relaunch churches take time and they take energy, and you have to constantly be revisiting and going, okay, what's the next step with our relaunch journey? Knowing that there are certain seasons in the life of a church that you have to discern with wisdom. These people are able to speak the truth in love without disrespecting other people or violating their dignity. They don't put people on blast. That's not the way that it should ever be handled. They're not arrogant about how they handle this. But at the same time, it is more concerned about the health and the mission of the team versus if he or she will be liked, or if there's pushback, or even whether or not they're going to get the credit for something. They're just not that kind of people. It's not important to them. So catch this. 4 pillars. You're strong in one. That's your strength. And then the others are the ones that you do, but you may not be as strong with. But understanding what that one part of the pillar is helps you understand why you think the way that you think. Now, let's talk about, as we looked at all that, let's talk about some truths to grasp in a relaunch culture. Let me give you some truths that are really important. The Holy Spirit will provide different people to step into different roles at certain times to help move the mission, and it may not be long term. See, someone may step into a role, and all of a sudden God just amazingly uses them for a season, but then they pass the baton off because there's someplace else in the organization or whatever that they're doing. There's focus. There's also just limitations that we have with time, energy, and those types of things. But there are specific seasons that you have to be willing to know that some people are filling in the gaps. And there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to demonize people. We don't have to get upset with them. That's just the dynamic of relaunch. Real trust takes time, and every new person on the team means you must rehearse and educate values. Our covenant is important. We rehearse it, we rehearse it, we rehearse it. This is how we're going to do life. Season of challenge are moments of clarifying values and direction. So I'm talking to everybody here. It doesn't matter if you're on the worship team, where you serve. You don't put leaders on blast. You don't shout out corrective type of things. That's not how we do life. We don't disrespect. We have a covenant. We follow that covenant, and conflict moments become opportunities for us. Now, I'm doing a actual reflection report of a book that I've been mulling over, that I read, that I'm giving it to you. We're going to introduce some next steps, even in our meetings and our team meetings, that are going to be reproduced in every meeting that takes place in the church. And I'm not going to say more than that, but in the next few weeks, you're going to be getting exposed to it. They're just simple principles. It's called the the STAR model of just handling things. And we'll talk about that in a few weeks, but they're just simple principles of how we garnish trust with our teams. Systems and structure must be aligned to mission. Okay? Listen, the mission never serves systems and structures. That's not how it works. Systems and structures serve the mission. That's why they have to be simple and not a lot of complexity. And they have to be flexible enough. I want you to catch this, that there's a variety of entry points for people to engage in ministry. Not every person is going to engage the same way. So we have to have entry points that people can have in terms of how they engage. Small egos, big mission. Did you catch that? Small egos, big mission. Team members must be able to play well with others. Small egos, big mission. It's not about the me, it's about the we. Conflict will always graduate us to new levels of trust. And people, listen to this, people must be replaced in roles that grow beyond their capacity. If people are stressed out, if they're exhausted all the time, if they're getting frustrated with certain things, it's probably the time to have the discussion. Is there a capacity for this? Now that's a coaching question, because sometimes it might be time management. It might be those types of things that you can coach through. But sometimes it's simply that the role that a person is trying to do is beyond their capacity because of their life situation. And we don't want people killing themselves to get things done. Remember this, there's people that want to serve. We at times can be the greatest roadblock for somebody else serving in an area. That's where we're constantly asking Jesus, where's my focus? What do you want me to do? Because I don't want to get in the way. And so this is kind of a little bit of a talk that we did today. I wanted to expose you. I'd like to hear your thoughts. But these are some very simple thoughts in terms of how we relaunch a church. Remember, leaders, we're the thermostat. We're the thermostat of what happens into our ministries. People are taught and they follow, and because of leadership. So a lot of times leaders want to blame, they'll go, well, our people just don't get this, or they're, no. We want to be able to have honest conversations that don't become emotionally charged, and they don't escalate something, but they're respectful and dignity, but we're going to have the tough conversations that need to be. Why? Because we need to look at reality. Not everything is great. Not everything functions really well. So how are we going to fix certain things? This is one of the reasons why some real conversations have taken place. We've gone as far to make Subsplash work, and now we're having to say, hey, it's not working. We got to do something else with our platform. Rather than get all caught up that we spent this time and all it's embarrassing. Well, listen, we're not the only one. Life has curveballs. Let's navigate it and let's move forward. Let's not stay stuck. That's the power of this, and that's how we want to move. And we're always going to have to pivot. I love what Carey Nieuwhof said. Carey Nieuwhof says, people who are able to advance a mission are people who are able to pivot. Sometimes there are strategic moments you have to pivot someplace. And so, hey, here's some thoughts. Wanted to expose you with it. Give me your feedback. Want to hear from you. I surely love you. We got more to say. A lot of great things that we'll mention that I'll do an update video this week. With the fire, everything. Boy, I'll tell you, the last 3 weeks have been something else. COVID outbreaks. We've had some people sick and out, as you all know. And now they're starting to get healthy. It's just been amazing. It's like one of these things all at one time. People with gallbladder issues, everything else. But you know what? Jesus is on the throne, and we're going to get through the other side. It's a season of life. And thank God for cooler weather this week. Don't you love it? I do. So, hey, I appreciate and love each one of you. It's always the strength of the team. You're great. And I'll talk a little bit more in an update video that I'll get out Thursday. About Dr. Charles, and man, I'll tell you, you're great. Every one of you matter. God bless you, and I love you.